wanted to make a quick video on all the transits that are going to happen during September. It's a big month, astrologically and cosmically speaking. Um, we are going to start with Mars changing directions and going retrograde. And I'm going to explain in a little bit what retrograde really means. Um, we have Saturn, which is a really slow moving planet. It changes signs every 2.5 years. So Saturn and Jupiter, which is the other slow moving planet, changes signs every 13 months. Those two planets are going to go direct. We have Rahu and Ketu changing signs, and the nodes are going to be in the Taurus Scorpio axis. And then we have the new moons and full moons. So there's a lot going on in September that is going to shift energy and probably change directions in your life. But today, let's really talk about Mars going retrograde. It's the first event I'm going to talk about because it's happening tomorrow, and you probably are already feeling it. So let me share my screen for a second. So I have a presentation made for Mars retrograde for us to really understand what retrograde really means. So if you look in this diagram, you can see the motion of Earth and the motion of Mars. And when we say a planet goes retrograde and or direct, it is really their motion in relation to Earth. So it's a relative motion. It's like two cars, they are traveling side by side, and then suddenly one car accelerates and starts moving forward, and the other car seems to be moving backwards, but it is not. It's both are moving forward, but one is accelerating as compared to the other. Similarly, if you can look at the retrograde motion, and this is just Mars, right? And this is the sky that is seen from Earth. So from Earth's perspective, Mars is right somewhere here right now, where it's stationary, ready to go retrograde. Anytime a planet changes direction, it becomes really stationary before it switches directions, and it's just relative direction. So all the time Mars is moving in the same direction, but in relationship to Earth, its movement seems to slow down. So its normal forward movement that we see in the sky seems to slow down right now, and today it's really stationary. And tomorrow Mars will turn retrograde. So it will seem to go backwards in the sky from where we are on Earth because of the relative motions of the two planets. So Mars retrograde is actually happening in the sign of Aries, really in Ashvini nakshatra. It starts tomorrow, September 10th. And then here is the chart. So this is the sign of Aries. Just ignore the ascendant right now. Here is the sign of Aries, and Mars. This is today is actually stationary. How do I know it's stationary? If I move this a day back, it is at the same degrees. That's 359. If I move it forward to today, it's still 359. So it's like stationary at that position. If I move this a day forward, this is tomorrow, Mars has turned retrograde. So it's going to go retrograde in the sign of Aries and all the way back into Pisces. So this is September 10th, 2020, September 2020, when Mars goes retrograde, and it re-enters Pisces on October 3rd, 2020. So if I move this forward like a month, and you can see on the event happened on October 3rd, Mars moves into Pisces on that day. And then it keeps going retrograde till it will change its direction on November 14th. So if I move this forward to November 14th, this is November 3rd, Mars is still going retrograde. You can see the degrees reducing. Oops, I just did the month. Let me do the day. This is November 3rd. Mars is at 2149 of Revati nakshatra in Pisces. If I move it forward a day, it is starting to slow down. It's at 2134, 2117, 2105. So it's stationary on November 13th at 2105. On November 14th, it goes direct, 2105. So that's the date. It goes direct in the sign of Pisces on November 14th. And then re-enters the sign of Aries on December 24th. So I can show you that too. If we go forward a month, and on December 24th, Mars has re-entered Aries. So this is really important movement, because between now and the end of the year, Mars is either, and almost like until February of next year, Mars is either going to be in Pisces or Aries. That's really long for a planet like Mars, which is relatively faster moving planet, to be spanning only 2 signs. Mars is actually in Gandantha, which is the, if this is today's chart, and the last first 3 degrees of Ashvini nakshatra and last 3 degrees of Revati nakshatra are called Gandantha. What it really means is there is no nakshatra bridging these 2 signs. So Mars is right now in Gandantha. It's a very tough spot wherein there is no nakshatra bridging or no constellation bridging 2 signs. Hence, there feels like an abrupt leap or abrupt stop, or just like a jarring shift or a change. So, pay attention to that. So pay attention to like these jarring or abrupt shifts or changes in energy uh, when Mars goes through the Gandantha area, which is from August 7th to October 14th, and then December 14th to, this should be January 1st, 2021, not 2020. So why Mars? Why do we really need to understand Mars? So, and the retrograde motion of Mars, why is it important? So let's start with understanding the evolutionary process of Mars. It starts from fighting to strengthen the physical body, which is just physical exercise and exerting the body. That's the tamasic quality or the lower quality of Mars, to really, surmounting external challenges and conflicts and conquering uh, battles and external challenges. That's the Rajasic nature of Mars. To just being a disciplined yogi who's like courageously facing their deepest self. That's the evolutionary process of Mars, right? The principles of Mars, what Mars really represents, it's actually our capacity for strength. It's like Mars is a planet that takes actions, and actions speak louder than words. But an elevated Mars or an intelligent Mars is really fighting the good fight. And what is it? What is it that you're fighting for? It's fighting for your principles. So when Mars comes into play, it is a test of your own it is a test of the strength of your principles, how strong your principles are, because you're willing to fight for it, right? And then Mars is willing to actually not just fight, but also like suffer for our principles. In fact, it actually enjoys suffering it for our principles. For example, getting up early in the morning and doing day-to-day sadhana, waking up at 5 a.m., meditating, doing your pranayam, doing your physical yoga, making juices, making a healthy meal, that all requires discipline, and it feels uncomfortable. But Mars is that part of us that is willing to feel uncomfortable in order to stick to our higher dharmic principles, right? Hopefully they're dharmic. Um, it is the strength and the courage. Mars represents the strength and the courage to face the true enemy, which is in most cases our ignorance, right? Uh, so Mars can actually activate the adrenal gland, which almost gives you a superhuman-like power. It's the flight or flight response which gets activated when Mars is active, mostly to protect the body and like to destroy a threat. But this adrenaline rush can also make us really numb to our own pain. It can make us numb to our wounds, but it can also make us numb to the wounds that we are inflicting on other people, right? And the energy of Mars, if you think about it, it's very black and white. Mars just takes action. It doesn't really think or analyze or interprets or really like contemplates on what those actions are or how to strategize. Mars takes the action. He's the warrior. So in the sign of Aries, where Mars is right now, right here, the sign of Aries, Mars rules Aries, and Aries is actually the first sign of the zodiac. It's the initiating sign where Mars likes to start things, but sometimes not complete it. Aries has to, planets in Aries love starting stuff. Aries is a cardinal sign that way. And if you look at the symbology of Aries, it's a ram charging forward with its head down and eyes pointing downwards. So it's not really always looking where it is going. And in the process, that ram actually runs into walls. So motivation to take action without a lot of forethought is a quality of Aries. It wants to, it's very quick, it's very innocent that way. It's like a child. It wants to just take action, reach out, even if it is out of curiosity. It just wants to take that action. And since Aries is a quadruped sign, it has 4 legs. It is comfortable moving forward, but it has a hard time adjusting or retracing their steps. So they would rather die on their sword than retreat. And if you think about the warrior class, that makes sense, right? So Mars really retrograde in Aries is very interesting because Mars rules Aries. The forward action of Mars is really embodied by Aries. Aries is fiery, Mars is fiery. Mars rules Aries, and that whole sign of Aries embodies that energy. Retrograde Mars in Aries actually really forces us to retreat and retrace our own steps before we take action. And by now, what I've said is, you know, Aries is a sign where it's very difficult to retrace because it's a forward moving, charging sign, right? So this retracing your own steps and retreating to really think for a second before you take action is what creates frustration within you. There's a buildup of energy. And that's what happens with all retrograde planets. Retrograde planets are actually closer to Earth, and so their energy feels closer. It's more introspective rather than external expression of that energy. So if you have retrograde planets in your natal chart, you have to understand that energy as being a little bit more internalized. You're a little hesitant with that energy, hesitant to move forward. There is There's a tendency to hold back. There's a tendency to think. There's a tendency to reflect before you move forward. There's that little hesitation with that energy because it's closer to us and feels more it feels more internal than external. So this whole retrograde Mars in Aries creates frustration because Mars wants to move forward, Aries wants to move forward, but the energy of Mars is now backing up in the sign of Aries. So there's this whole buildup of energy, uh, and instead of taking an action forward, it's just getting backed up, and mostly it's getting backed up emotionally or psychologically. The simple black and white approach becomes very hard in that case, wherein Mars is like, kill or no kill. That kind of black and white approach becomes very hard, which lands up creating a lot of implosions and explosions. Really, if you have emotional outbursts during this time, give yourself a space to have it. So there is a tendency to have more emotional outbursts, tendency to just destroy relationships, and create external chaos because there's this whole buildup of this fiery energy within. One is forced to retract back and weigh in the consequences of actions, which feels extremely uncomfortable for a really fiery, quick to start, agile nature of Mars and Aries. Both are very agile, right? Even the nakshatra where this whole thing is happening, Ashvini, which is ruled by Ashwin Kumars. Ashwin Kumars are related to healing energy that is essential for creating life on Earth. So Ashwin Kumars are these twin horses that were born to Sun and his wife when they came to Earth, and they're the medicine gods. They gave Ayurveda to the world, and so the energy, and Ashwin Kumars are also very swift. They are depicted by two horsemen. They're very swift. Uh, and this happening in the nakshatra of Ashwini actually reminds us to go inwards and heal all those parts of ourselves that prevent us from taking a positive action forward. Because forward movement need not always be positive or dharmic, so to say. In order for our actions to be dharmic in the world, in the nakshatra of Ashwini, we have the opportunity to go inwards and really heal those parts of us which are not aligned with our higher purpose. Does that make sense? It is also a good time to evaluate whether your courage and enthusiasm aligns your actions with dharma, which is what I said, and not just worldly conquest for power, which is what this fiery Mars energy in Aries is all about. It's about conquering more territory, not literally land, but also like more areas of life. Just conquer, 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 start and conquer. Um, so this is a good time to really re-evaluate what are you courageous about, right? What are you willing to stand up for? Pisces, on the other hand, so when is in Pisces, there's a very different energy. So Pisces is actually the last sign of the zodiac. It's where we just let go of, where we just surrender to the cosmos and just be, right? For the heck of being, just for the heck of being here and enjoying life. There is no action. There is just being and enjoying this earth and this cosmos as if it's a big ocean, right? So, and if you look at the symbology of Pisces, it's two fish. It's footless, and in a materialistic sense, it's kind of directionless, right? The heart, the emotions, and the psyche swim in metaphysics philosophy is seen by uh, Pisces because it's very imaginative, devotion, feelings, love, and peace. That's where your heart, your mind, your emotions are. But we incarnate on earth in a physical body where actions need to be performed. That's what karmas tell us. You need to perform those actions, right? And in the highest form, these actions will immerse you in yogic practices, in meditation, and devotion as a means to liberate you from all your attachments to the physical form, all the attachments that come with the body, right? However, that is a lot of work. Who wants to do it, right? So Pisces tend to escape the burdens of the world through sex, drugs, alcohol, you name it. Even numb themselves with like watching television, binge watching, and just mindless entertainment. So Mars going retrograde in Pisces, uh, the forward moving nature of Mars when it retrogrades backs up in Pisces, it tends to exaggerate that emotional buildup of energy in the form of anger, frustration, emotional outbursts. So think about it. Pisces is already an emotional sign where emotions are flowing, and it's trying to the sattvic nature of Pisces is to elevate those emotions and those imaginations so that it liberates you from the physical form. But when Mars is backing up into Pisces, it's a planet of action. It wants to take action in the moment. So instead of allowing that time for those emotions to elevate you, there is an outburst of those emotions in the form of anger, of frustration, or just constant bickering. So one moment you may find yourself picking up a battle with someone over maybe a philosophical issue, and the other moment you may find yourself feeling drained, just like that energy just being drained and escaping into maybe drugs, alcohol, TV, just sleeping, just any kind of self-destructive behavior. And I don't mean in terms of sleeping as in, you need to sleep to rest, but this is like just oversleeping. The directionless nature of Pisces, it really frustrates Mars because Mars is about taking forward action. It's really black and white. Yes, do it. No, don't do it. It just understands binary code, 1 or 0. But Pisces is like a whole different ball game, and all forms of integers and decimals are there, and non-integers. So it really confuses that nature of Mars, which is very direct and very simple, black or white, 1 or 0. The fiery energy of Mars backing up in Pisces, it actually presents the opportunity to transmute our emotional entanglements into something purer. So instead of exploding, if we use that energy to perform yogic practices, it will help us detach from our emotional and psychological bondage to people. Mars loves to destruct. So why not destruct what is keeping us bound? It's our attachments, right? It's just the psychological and emotional, literally, bondage to people and substances, getting addicted to just name it. Drugs, sex, alcohol, food. I love desserts, food. Um, and so, it is an opportunity to detach from everything that keeps us bound to this physical plane and truly be in bliss for no reason. You know what? That actually requires immense courage, which this retrograde Mars and Pisces can provide if we can figure out how to tap into that energy. So Mars Gandantha that I talked about, it's this section between, Gandantha are points between a water sign and a fire sign. So Pisces is a water sign, Aries is a fire sign. The other Gandantha we have is Cancer. Cancer is a water sign, and Leo, which is a fire sign. And the third Gandantha we have is between Scorpio, which is a water sign, and Sagittarius, which is a fire sign. So the Gandantha, which is, there is no nakshatra bridging these two signs, and the sign of Pisces ends with Revati nakshatra, and the sign of Aries starts with 0 degrees of Ashvini nakshatra. There's just no bridging the two stark energies, right? Imagine being extremely watery and emotional, and then being fiery and just charged up, right? There's nothing bridging that. So when planets are transiting through these Gandantha points, you need to be a little careful, because uh, you know, chances are there will be sudden shifts or sudden transitions that will feel abrupt or jarring, things just happening out of the blue. And why do you need to be careful about it is because it just creates or increases the level of uncertainty, which can lead to more chaos and more explosive behaviors. You don't want that, right? So there are remedies for Mars, especially when Mars is going retrograde and all this energy is building up, right? The best remedy is daily sadhana, pranayam, physical yoga, doing kriyas, or meditation. If you do that every day, you would not even feel the transit, or you'll feel it, but very subtly. Your daily lives will be just seamless, right? The other thing is think before you act. Think before you act. Just don't jump onto things, right? Think before you act. Take it slow. Slow down before you do something. Slow down, look at all the details, then act. And the third thing that I generally recommend to people is engage in activities that create a tear in the skeletal muscles. So, like strength training, lifting, abs, all of that creates, strength training creates a tear in the muscle. And if you think about it, oftentimes the emotions that we do not express, or we just repress, emotions that we repress, they get stored as energy in our muscles, and then they can get stored for years and years and years, and later on manifest as some disease. So, or in the moment create a lot of emotional upheaval. So to transform this energy, what you can do is engage in activities that really get your muscles to work, as a way to release the emotions that are stuck in the muscles. That will also help with that Mars fiery energy backing up. The more you get into your muscles, the more you get into your body, the less of an emotional and a psychological roller coaster you'll be on. I also have actually put up a page where you can subscribe to Mars retrograde for a particular ascendant. So this transit is not the same for everybody, right? For a Libra rising, the star transit is happening from the seventh, between the seventh and the sixth houses. For Pisces rising, this is happening between the second and first house. Feels very different. Second house and first house has to do with self and our values and value systems. But for a Libra, this is the seventh and the sixth house principles. The seventh house is how we engage with other people, right? And create these equal relationships. And sixth house is how we get into conflicts with other people, right? And Libra knows all about getting into conflicts. So it feels different. This energy will feel different and manifest differently based on your rising sign. And I've put together a report, which is a free report. All you have to do is go to this website, cosmicartandscience.com/Mars retrograde 2020 free report. And you can request a free report for your ascendant sign. I hope this was helpful. Thank you. Bye.